Video games. Humanity's entertainment of choice, surpassing the value of books, film, and music by a fair margin. And enjoyed the world over, gaming has become downright inescapable. We are now at the point where multiple generations have grown up with them, and couldn't imagine a world without them. Every major company and brand has thrown their hat in the ring at some point to try to capitalize off gaming, some more successfully than others. And even though in the grand scheme of things they've only been in the public eye for some 50 years, the sheer amount of history one can parse is sometimes overwhelming. Unfortunately, the modern gaming landscape has become very hit or miss. Massive projects undertaken by multi-billion-dollar conglomerates for hundreds of millions of dollars can fall completely flat on their face, pushed out the door in a near unplayable state. After being burned time and time again by greedy companies releasing broken, over-monetized garbage, many gamers are looking to the past, a time games had to be finished at launch or remain forever broken. A time when split-screen multiplayer was the norm, and getting that shiny armor set involved just playing the game, rather than breaking out your credit card. For younger audiences that weren't around for those days, or maybe missed out on certain consoles or experiences, YouTube played a massive role in popularizing gaming history. For my generation, it was the angry video game nerd, through which I discovered countless consoles from the 90s I had never heard of until he would make a video on it. Growing up, my friends had PlayStation, Sega Genesis, NES, but I never saw Philips CDI, Atari Jaguar, or even Mattel Hyperscan. Even though James Rolfe was primarily dogging on these systems and showed them at their worst for comedic effect,
what were they thinking?
It sparked a lifelong interest in gaming history and preservation that led me to owning and maintaining the collection I have today. For many, that torch is being carried on by newcomers like Scott the Woz, who brings this same joy of video game history to a whole new generation. I think that's really valuable, and serves to ensure that newer gamers can go back and have experiences from before their time, and understand the importance of preserving said experiences for generations to come. After all, those Fortnite servers are going to shut down for good one day, and you'll have nothing to show for all those V-Bucks you spent. Countless examples have shown us that live services, or games that require checking in with a server to play, eventually disappear forever. As a side note, if delving into that topic interests you, you should go check out the channel Nerdslayer Studios, who almost exclusively make videos about now-defunct online experiences. As a sizable collector myself, it's always a joy to talk to other people in the hobby. For me, seeing kids in high school just starting to get into it with their little shelf of games warms my cold, dead heart. But for kids starting out now, the collection landscape is much different than it used to be. Let's talk about the elephant in the room: cost. Have you ever watched some of those game room tours and thought to yourself, wow, look at this guy's complete Atari collection, he must make so much money? Well, the truth is that he's in his 40s or 50s and picked those games up in the year 2000 for $1 a pop at some garage sale. There was a time when having a big game collection wasn't some kind of flex. 20 years ago, do you think anyone cared about Hotel Mario or those Zelda games on CDI?
No.
Most people didn't even know they existed. That is, until the memes hit YouTube and channels started to do retrospectives on titles that flew under the radar. Suddenly, a mass of new people was interested in picking these pieces of history up. Basic supply and demand principles led to these items steadily raising in value over time. Before long, titles that were once forgotten to the annals of history were now worth more than a brand new sealed game at GameStop. This so-called YouTuber effect is controversial in the game collecting community. The older members with already gigantic collections benefit from raising value, while small fries get priced out of many games they would love to own themselves. The expense of collecting was bad enough in 2019, but absolutely no one could have foreseen what was about to happen the following year. 2020, the year that changed the way everyone lived, forced people to stay at home, and many had more time to look back and reflect on their lives than they'd had in a long time. It was the year of people rediscovering their childhood pastimes. Suddenly, all your favorite streamers and YouTubers were opening packs of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards from 20 years ago, even if their content had nothing to do with that up until this point. The price of anything popular with millennials when they were kids, now adults with disposable income, shot up in price beyond the point of reason. Booster boxes of old Pokemon cards were selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and those Zelda CDI games that were memed to death all those years ago were now highly desirable collector's items. In January of 2020, I decided on a whim that I wanted to own all of the mainline Pokemon games, and begrudgingly paid what I thought at the time to be a pretty penny. A few short months later, they were worth triple that amount. I have no doubt in my mind that the people who already had massive multi-room collections became millionaires as a result. Even though it's now 2023, and you've probably returned to working at the office, going out to eat, etc., the pricing of retro games hasn't come back down to earth. In fact, it's continued to go up and up, leaving behind a swath of would-be newcomers to the hobby of collecting. So at this point, just about everybody knows and accepts that video games are expensive. Those of us who are still willing to pick up new pieces for our collections understand that it's going to be pricier and in smaller quantities than it would have been just a few years ago. The issue with this mentality, however, is that unless you are well versed in the current market on any given day, it can be easy to overpay for something. You'll see a listing for a game you want and just think to yourself, yeah, that's a lot of money, but everything is expensive these days, so I guess that's just what it's worth. Scummy sellers take advantage of this mentality and ask well above market price, knowing that eventually someone who isn't doing their research will pay it. Enter DK Oldies. If you watch retro gaming content on YouTube, you've probably seen this channel pop up in your shorts feed or recommended videos. It's a cute concept. A happy-go-lucky guy named Joey makes short videos of his game store warehouse and his group of quirky employees, often showing the process of packaging customers' orders with big smiles on their faces. It's honestly very wholesome, and a pretty smart way for a store like this to market themselves. I definitely never would have heard from them if it wasn't for their YouTube channel. So after getting a good first impression from their channel, I decided to check out their web store. Maybe I could find some deals. I live in Canada, so unfortunately, since people are so spread out, I often need to turn to sites like eBay or online stores to get specific titles. So, let's just load up the site right here. Oh, daily deals. What have we got here? Am I reading this right? A basic white Wii on sale for 174 Canadian dollars? You mean that console that sold over 100 million units, and even where I live is all over Facebook Marketplace for like 50 bucks? And is that a gray basic N64 for $250? And oh my god. Oh, please no. A black PlayStation 2. The best-selling console of all time, with over 155 million units sold. A console you could probably find 6 of under your grandmother's couch right now, going for sale for $281. And the non-sale price is $361? What is going on? These are the deals you deem enticing enough to put on your front page? Okay, let's catch our breath here. you're probably in one of two camps watching this video. Camp A, utter shock and disbelief? Or B, you have excuses for this. After the first time I saw these insane prices, I searched the internet for discourse around this company. I was curious to see if others were as appalled as I was, or maybe I was missing something. What I found was interesting. While yes, the majority of people were unimpressed with the store's pricing, there was a small but consistent group of people defending them with one of two main excuses. Number one, they clean the consoles and check that they work before shipping them to you. And two, they have a physical warehouse and multiple employees. Overhead is expensive, and those costs need to be covered somehow. Let's address both of those arguments. Knowing the working condition of a console before you buy it is the norm anywhere. Your local retro game shop has turned it on and tested it. That seller on eBay has turned it on and tested it, unless it's clearly marked as untested, which should then be treated as a 4 parts purchase. If you get a console that was marked as working and it doesn't, you get your money back. I have purchased over 40 consoles just from eBay alone, and they all arrived as described, well packaged, and clean. If you go grab a console from someone local on Facebook, you can test its condition in person. Having a console working and clean isn't some kind of premium service worth paying more for. It's the norm. And here's the funny part. DK Oldies doesn't always do a good job at inspection either. Just a couple weeks ago, YouTuber Rich from Review Tech USA bought an NES from them, and here's what he had to say in his video.
I swear to God, they don't give me my money back on this thing. I'm gonna lose my shit. Look at that right here. A chip. I spent $300 on this system. $300. You could get one in the same, if not better condition for a third of the price. Why is there a chip right here in the system? Why? Can you explain that to me? I could find one of these on eBay in this condition. Dirt on the feet. Dirt on the... This is 2016. There would be a lot more swears in this video.
And before you mention the 1-year warranty, don't bother. If the NES you bought from them is working when you get it, it's going to last you more than a year. Most likely, it'll still be working in another 30 years. The store overhead argument seems to make sense at face value. Yes, they have a physical warehouse, and yes, they have employees, who I hope are compensated accordingly. This excuse starts to fall apart, though, when you compare it with other brick-and-mortar retro game stores. Sure, my local shop might charge 10 to 15% more than you'd find with a private sale, but DK Oldies is charging over 100% that of private sales, and my local game shop doesn't have a successful YouTube channel to subsidize those costs. No matter how you slice it, these prices just don't add up. And that's a shame, because while I may be in tune with the current value of game pricing, others won't be. People with less experience than me will fall for their flashy marketing and spend what could have brought them a console and like 10 games, a few extra controllers, a couple memory cards, etc. on just the console and not realize they've been swindled. DK Oldies doesn't deserve your money. Companies like them scare people away from the hobby of collecting and don't care about anything other than how much money they can squeeze out of enthusiasts. As always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What do you think about DK Oldies? Have you bought anything from them? Don't forget to hit like and please consider subscribing to my channel. It would mean a lot to me. Until next time, bye-bye.